My wife locked me out at 11 p.m. after I'd paid her $25,000 mortgage and covered every bill for 3 years. She said her business partner needed privacy for planning and I was disturbing them. What she didn't know, the house was in my name, her business partner was actually her lover planning to scam her, and the bank foreclosure notice I'd hidden would arrive tomorrow morning. The next evening when I found her begging outside, what followed destroyed everything she thought she knew. Before I tell you what happened that night and the chain of events that changed everything, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. It helps this story reach people who need to hear it. Now let me tell you exactly how this unfolded. My name is Marcus, I'm 29, and 2 weeks ago I discovered my wife of 3 years had been playing me for a fool. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to understand how I ended up standing outside my own house in the rain while she entertained another man inside. I met Lisa 4 years ago at a business conference. She was confident, ambitious, running what she called a consulting startup. She talked about big contracts, corporate clients, expansion plans. She drove a nice car, wore expensive clothes, projected success. I was impressed. I worked as an IT project manager making decent money, and Lisa seemed like someone going places. We married after dating for a year. That's when the cracks started showing. 3 months into marriage, Lisa sat me down with a serious expression. Her consulting business was struggling. She'd invested everything into it, maxed out credit cards, and now the bank was threatening to foreclose on her condo. She owed $25,000 on the mortgage and had no way to pay. Marcus, I hate asking this, but I need help. Just this once. Once I land the big contracts I've been working on, I'll pay you back with interest. I promise. I should have investigated more. Should have asked to see her business financials, her client list, proof these big contracts existed. But I loved her, and more importantly, I believed her. So I withdrew $25,000 from my savings, money I'd been saving since college, and paid off her mortgage. Completely. The house was saved. You're amazing, she said, hugging me tight. I'll never forget this. 6 months, maybe a year, and I'll pay you back every penny. That was 3 years ago. I'm still waiting for the first payment. But it gets worse, much worse. After paying off her mortgage, Lisa suggested we move into her place together. My apartment lease was ending anyway, so it made sense. That's when I made my first critical mistake. I didn't ask to be added to the deed. I didn't ask to see the mortgage documents. I just moved in, assuming we were building a life together. Over the next 3 years, I paid for everything. Every utility bill, every grocery run, every repair, every expense. Lisa's consulting business kept almost landing big contracts, but somehow they always fell through at the last minute. Meanwhile, I was pulling in $85,000 a year and covering all our living costs. Lisa would work from home, always on calls with potential clients, always networking, always busy. But I noticed something odd. For someone running a consulting business, she never seemed to have actual work deliverables. No presentations to prepare, no reports to write, no client meetings to attend in person. Just endless phone calls and lunch meetings that never seemed to go anywhere. I tried asking about her business. How's the client pipeline looking? Good, really good. I've got 3 big prospects. Should close at least 1 by next month. Next month would come. No closed contracts. What happened to those prospects? They needed more time. But I've got 2 new ones that are even better. Much bigger deals. This pattern repeated for 3 years. Big talk, no results. And I kept paying the bills, kept believing, kept hoping that someday her business would take off and she'd pay me back. Then 6 months ago, everything started changing. Lisa began coming home later and later. She'd say she was at networking events, coffee meetings with potential clients, industry conferences. Her phone became permanently attached to her hand, and she'd take calls in other rooms, speaking in hushed voices that would stop the moment I walked in. She started dressing differently too. More makeup, nicer clothes, expensive perfume I hadn't bought her. When I asked about it, she said she needed to look successful to attract high-value clients. The biggest red flag was her sudden friendship with someone named Richard. He's a business partner, she explained. He's helping me structure deals, navigate contracts, expand my network. He's really connected in the industry. Richard started showing up at the house. Tall, mid-30s, drove a Mercedes, wore suits that probably cost more than my monthly salary. He'd come by 4 business planning sessions with Lisa, and they'd disappear into her home office for hours. I tried to be understanding. Lisa was building a business, and business required networking. But something felt wrong. The way she laughed when talking to Richard was different from how she laughed with me. The way she'd touch his arm when they talked. The way he'd look at her when he thought I wasn't watching. 2 weeks ago, everything came to a head. It was a Friday night. I'd been working late on a project and got home around 10 p.m. Richard's Mercedes was parked in our driveway. I walked in to find Lisa and Richard in the living room, sitting close together on the couch with their laptops open, wine glasses on the table. "Marcus, you're home early," Lisa said, and I could hear annoyance in her voice. "It's 10 p.m. This is when I usually get home on Fridays." "Right, well, Richard and I are in the middle of finalizing a major contract proposal. It's really important." I looked at the scene. Wine, dim lighting, Lisa in clothes she definitely hadn't been wearing when I left that morning. "How long is this going to take?" Richard spoke up, his voice smooth and confident. "Could be a while. This is a 7-figure deal we're pitching. We need to get it perfect." 7 figures. Lisa had been promising 6-figure deals for years. Now suddenly it was 7? I was tired, skeptical, but I didn't want to be the unsupportive husband who didn't believe in his wife's business dreams. "Okay, I'll just grab some dinner and head to bed." I went to the kitchen and made a sandwich. From there, I could hear them talking in low voices, occasionally laughing. At one point I heard Richard say, "Once we close this deal, everything changes. We'll finally be free to," but he stopped abruptly, like he'd realized his voice was carrying. Free to what? I wondered. But I was too exhausted to investigate. I ate, showered, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up around 8 a.m. Richard's car was gone. Lisa was still asleep. I went about my Saturday, running errands, doing chores. When Lisa finally woke up around noon, she seemed distracted. "How'd the proposal go last night?" I asked. "Good. Really good. Richard thinks we have a strong chance." "When will you hear back?" "Couple weeks probably. These things take time." Same story, different day. But I was starting to lose patience. "Lisa, it's been 3 years. How much longer until your business actually makes money?" Her expression hardened. "You know what? This is exactly the problem. You don't believe in me. You never have. You just see me as some failure because I haven't hit the timeline you arbitrarily set. I gave you $25,000 and I've paid all our bills for 3 years. How is that not believing in you? Money isn't belief, Marcus. Belief is emotional support, encouragement, patience. All you do is pressure me about results." We argued for an hour. It ended with Lisa storming off to her office and slamming the door. We barely spoke the rest of the weekend. But what I didn't know was that Lisa and Richard were planning something that would blow up in ways neither of them expected. Monday evening, I came home from work around 7 p.m. Richard's Mercedes was in the driveway again. I walked in and found them in Lisa's office, door closed, voices barely audible. I knocked. "What?" Lisa's voice was sharp. "I'm home. Just letting you know." "Okay. Richard and I are busy. Don't disturb us. Don't disturb us." In my own house, well, technically her house, but the house I'd been paying to maintain for 3 years. I went to the kitchen, made dinner, ate alone while listening to muffled voices and occasional laughter from the office. Around 9 p.m., Richard came out, nodded at me without really making eye contact, and left. Lisa emerged a few minutes later, looking flushed and happy. "Good meeting?" I asked. "Very productive. Richard's amazing at strategy. He's really helping me see the bigger picture." Something in her tone bothered me. The way she said his name. The way her whole face lit up talking about him. But I pushed it down. I didn't want to be that paranoid, jealous husband. This pattern continued for a week. Richard would show up, they'd closet themselves in the office, I'd eat dinner alone and go to bed wondering what was really happening behind that closed door. Then came the night everything exploded. It was a Thursday. I came home at my usual time, 6:30 p.m. Richard's Mercedes was there, of course. I walked in, and immediately something felt different. The lights were dimmed. There was music playing softly, not Lisa's usual taste, something more sensual. And the door to her office was slightly ajar. I approached quietly and heard voices. Lisa's, then Richard's, then Lisa laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years. I pushed the door open. They were sitting close together on the small couch in her office. Too close. Lisa's hand was on Richard's knee. His arm was around her shoulders. They weren't working on a laptop. They were just sitting there, wine glasses in hand, looking at each other with an intimacy that made my stomach turn. They jumped apart when they saw me. Lisa's face cycled through emotions, surprise, guilt, then defiance. "Marcus, you should knock." The door was open. "What's going on here?" "We're working." "What does it look like?" "It looks like you're on a date." Richard stood up, smoothing his suit. "Marcus, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Lisa and I have a professional relationship." "Professional?" Your arm was around her. "We're celebrating. We just closed the deal." 7 figures. This is what we've been working toward for months. The deal. The mythical deal Lisa had been promising for years. Really? You closed it? Show me the contract. Lisa's expression tightened. It's confidential. NDA. I can't just show you business documents. I'm your husband. You can't tell me anything about this 7-figure deal you just closed? Not without violating client confidentiality. We stared at each other. Something was very wrong. Then Richard's phone rang. He looked at the screen, his face changing. I need to take this. He stepped out into the hallway. Lisa and I stood in her office, the tension thick enough to cut. Marcus, what is this really about? Are you jealous? Am I jealous? You're sitting in the dark with another man, music playing, drinking wine, his arm around you. He's my business partner. We were celebrating. You're being ridiculous. Then why do you look guilty? I don't look guilty. I look annoyed that my husband doesn't trust me. Richard came back in, pocketing his phone. He looked uncomfortable. Lisa, I need to head out. We'll talk tomorrow about next steps. Of course. Thanks for everything tonight. He left quickly. Lisa turned to me, arms crossed. Are you happy? You just made things incredibly awkward with my business partner. If he's just a business partner, why were you sitting like that? Like what? We were sitting on a couch. You're seeing things that aren't there because you're insecure. We argued for another 20 minutes. It ended with Lisa saying something that should have been my final warning. You know what? Maybe Richard was right. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe we both need space to figure out what we really want. What does that mean? It means I need to think about whether this marriage is what I want anymore. And honestly, Marcus, maybe you should think about it too. She went to the bedroom and locked the door. I slept on the couch that night, mind racing. Was I overreacting? Was I being paranoid? Or was my gut telling me something my brain didn't want to accept? The next morning, Friday, Lisa was already gone when I woke up. No note, no text. I went to work distracted, barely able to focus. Around 3 p.m., I got a text from her, working late with Richard on implementation planning. Don't wait up. Working late. With Richard. After everything that happened last night. I texted back, we need to talk when you get home. There's nothing to talk about. I have work to do. I left the office early and drove home. Richard's Mercedes was in the driveway. Of course. I sat in my car for a moment, debating what to do. Then I decided, I was done being the passive, trusting husband. I was going to find out what was really going on. I let myself in quietly. Music was playing from upstairs. Not the office, the bedroom. My bedroom. I crept up the stairs, heart pounding. The bedroom door was closed but not locked. I turned the handle slowly and pushed it open. What I saw destroyed me. Lisa and Richard were on the bed. They weren't working. They weren't celebrating a business deal. They were together in a way that left no room for misinterpretation. I must have made a sound because they both looked up at the same time. Lisa's face went through shock, panic, then something I didn't expect, anger. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be at work. What am I doing here? This is my house. What are you doing? Richard scrambled to get dressed, muttering apologies. Lisa just sat there, pulling a sheet around herself, looking defiant rather than ashamed. Marcus, I can explain. Explain? You're in bed with another man. We have a connection. Richard understands me in ways you never have. He supports my dreams, believes in me. I paid $25,000 to save your house. I've paid every bill for 3 years. How is that not supporting you? Money isn't support. It's just money. Richard gives me emotional validation. I was shaking with rage, betrayal, confusion. Richard finished dressing and tried to slip past me. I blocked the door. You need to explain what's going on. Both of you. Lisa sighed, like I was being inconvenient. Fine. You want the truth? Richard and I have been together for 6 months. We're in love. We're planning to start a real business together once some things get sorted out. Once what gets sorted out? Once I figure out the living situation. The living situation? You mean this house? Yes. I need to figure out how to transfer ownership so Richard and I can live here together and run our business. I stared at her. You're planning to kick me out of the house I've been paying to maintain so you can move your lover in? It's my house, Marcus. My name is on the deed. That's when it hit me. She didn't just want me out of the relationship. She wanted me out of the house so she and Richard could take over. But there was something she didn't know. Something crucial. Get out, I said quietly to Richard. Marcus, I'm sorry, this wasn't supposed to happen like this. Get out. He left quickly. Lisa and I stood in the bedroom, my bedroom that I'd been paying to heat, cool, maintain for 3 years. Marcus, we need to talk about this like adults, she said, wrapping the sheet tighter around herself. Talk about what? About how you've been cheating on me. About how you've been planning to kick me out. I wasn't planning to kick you out. I was planning to ask you to leave so we could end this marriage amicably. There's nothing amicable about cheating and stealing someone's home. I'm not stealing anything. This is my house. We argued for an hour. It ended with Lisa saying something I'll never forget: I need you to leave. Tonight. Pack your things and go. Richard and I need space to figure out our next steps, and having you here is making everything complicated. You want me to leave my own house? It's not your house. It's mine. And yes, I want you to leave. Now. And if I don't? Then I'll have Richard come back and we'll make you leave. The threat hung in the air. I looked at Lisa, this woman I'd married, supported, believed in, and realized I didn't know her at all. But more importantly, she didn't know the truth about the house she was so confident she owned. I packed a bag slowly, methodically. Clothes, toiletries, laptop, important documents. The whole time, Lisa watched from the bedroom doorway, arms crossed. Don't take anything that's not yours, she said. Like what? Like any of the furniture or electronics. Those stay with the house. I almost laughed. Don't worry. I'm only taking my personal items. But as I was packing, I saw something on Lisa's desk. Financial documents. Loan applications. I glanced at them quickly, applications for business loans, using the house as collateral. My blood ran cold. Lisa was trying to take out loans against the house. Loans that would put the property at risk. I took photos of the documents with my phone. Then I finished packing and headed for the door. Lisa followed me down the stairs. Where will you go? She asked, and I couldn't tell if it was concern or just curiosity. Hotel. I'll figure it out. Marcus, this doesn't have to be ugly. We can do this civilly. I'm not trying to hurt you. You're cheating on me and kicking me out of my home. How is that not trying to hurt me? It's not your home. It's mine. I looked at her one last time. She actually believed it. She genuinely thought she owned that house free and clear, that she had all the power, that she could just kick me out and move on with Richard. What she didn't know would destroy her. But I needed to play this carefully. You're right, I said quietly. It's your house. I'll be gone. I walked out into the rain, yes, of course it was raining, and got in my car. I drove to a hotel near the airport, checked in, and sat on the bed staring at nothing for about an hour. Then I started making calls. First call, my lawyer, Steve, who I'd known since college. He answered on the second ring. Steve, I need help. Emergency. What happened? I told him everything. The affair, being kicked out, the financial documents I'd seen. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Marcus, do you have the paperwork from when you paid off Lisa's mortgage? I should have it somewhere. Why? Because I need you to find it. Tonight. And I need you to check something very specific on those documents. What am I looking for? When you paid off the mortgage, whose name went on the deed? Just hers, or both of yours? My heart started racing. I don't remember. I just gave her the money and assumed she handled it. Assumed? That's the problem. Marcus, if your name is on that deed, this situation is very different than you think. Find those documents. Call me back. I tore through my hastily packed bag, then remembered, I had most of my important documents in a secure cloud storage. I logged in on my laptop and started searching. Bank statements showing the $25,000 transfer. Receipts for 3 years of utility payments. Then I found it. The deed transfer document from 3 years ago when the mortgage was paid off. I opened it and started reading. My hands were shaking. And then I saw it. The names on the deed, Lisa Chen and Marcus Rodriguez. Both our names. When the mortgage was paid off and the deed was transferred, the title company had automatically added my name as co-owner because I was the spouse who'd paid off the loan. I called Steve back immediately. Steve, I'm on the deed. Both our names. You're sure? Positive. It says right here, Lisa Chen and Marcus Rodriguez, as tenants in common. Okay. This changes everything. Marcus, Lisa can't kick you out of a house you co-own. She has no legal right to force you to leave. You're entitled to live there. But I already left. Doesn't matter. You can go back. But here's what I recommend, don't go back yet. Let's use this to our advantage. Lisa thinks she owns the house outright. Let her keep thinking that for now. Meanwhile, we're going to prepare divorce papers that make it very clear you own half that house. And Marcus? Those loan applications you saw? If she tries to take out loans against a property she doesn't solely own without your consent, that's fraud. I spent the rest of that night working with Steve, gathering documents, building our case. By morning, we had a complete picture, I co-owned the house, I'd paid every bill for 3 years, and I had documentation of Lisa's affair and her attempt to fraudulently claim sole ownership. Saturday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Lisa. Then the voicemail started, "Marcus, where are you? Call me back." Then, "Marcus, we need to talk about dividing assets." Then, "Marcus, I know you're upset but we're both adults. Let's handle this maturely." I didn't respond. Instead, I spent the day with Steve finalizing paperwork. By Saturday evening, we had divorce papers ready, along with a legal notification that I was asserting my ownership rights to the house. Sunday afternoon, I drove back to the house, my house. Richard's Mercedes wasn't there. Good. I used my key to let myself in. Lisa was in the living room on her laptop. She looked up, surprised and annoyed to see me. "Marcus? What are you doing here? I thought you were staying at a hotel." "I came to pick up more of my things." "Fine. But make it quick. Richard's coming over later and I don't want this to be awkward." I almost laughed. SHE didn't want it to be awkward. I went upstairs and packed another bag slowly, deliberately. While I was there, I took photos of everything. The bedroom, the office, the condition of the house. Documentation for the divorce proceedings. When I came back downstairs, Lisa was on the phone. I could hear her conversation. "Yes, the property is solely in my name. No, my husband isn't on the deed. We're separating so I'll have full access to the equity." She was talking to a lender. About taking out a loan against our house. Without my knowledge or consent. I cleared my throat. She looked up, annoyed, and ended the call quickly. "Done packing?" she asked. "For now. Lisa, we need to talk." "We really don't. I think everything's been said." "Not everything. I have something for you." I pulled out the divorce papers Steve had prepared. Lisa took them, confusion on her face. As she read, I watched her expression change from confusion to shock to anger. "What is this? You're claiming you own half the house." "I don't claim it. I do own half. Both our names are on the deed. Have been for 3 years." "That's not possible. This is my house. I owned it before we got married. And when I paid off your $25,000 mortgage, the deed was transferred to both of us as married co-owners. It's standard procedure. You would have known that if you'd actually read the paperwork instead of just taking my money and assuming you'd kept sole ownership." Her face went pale. No, this can't be right." "It's right. I have the deed here. See for yourself." I showed her a copy of the deed on my phone. Both our names, clear as day. She grabbed my phone and stared at it, her hands shaking. "But, I've been making plans. Richard and I were going to..." "We're going to what? Take out loans against a house you don't solely own? Start a business using equity you can't access without my permission? Move your boyfriend into my house? You can't do this. I'm not doing anything except protecting my legal rights to a property I co-own and have been solely maintaining for 3 years." She threw my phone back at me. "This is why we're getting divorced. This is exactly why. You're controlling, manipulative." "I'm manipulative? You've been cheating on me for 6 months, planning to kick me out of my own house, and trying to commit fraud by taking out loans without my consent." "It's not fraud. It's my house. It's our house. And according to these divorce papers, we either sell it and split the proceeds, or one of us buys out the other's half. Your choice." She sank onto the couch, the papers falling from her hands. "Richard's going to be so angry. We had plans. We were going to use the house equity to start our business. You're ruining everything." I could have pointed out that she'd ruined everything by cheating. I could have screamed about the betrayal, the lies, the 3 years of support I'd given while she planned to throw me away. But instead, I just felt tired. "You have 3 days to decide what you want to do about the house," I said. "Sell and split, or buy out my half. But either way, this marriage is over." I left. Got in my car and drove back to the hotel. That night, I got dozens of calls from Lisa. Then from Richard. Then from Lisa again. I ignored them all. Monday morning, I got a call from Steve. "Marcus, you're not going to believe this. I did some digging into Richard's background. He's not a successful business consultant. He's a con artist. He's done this before, find married women with assets, seduce them, convince them to leverage those assets for business ventures, then disappear with the money. There are 3 other women who filed complaints against him in other states." My blood ran cold. Lisa has no idea. No, she doesn't. And based on those loan applications you photographed, she was about to help him scam you both out of your house. We need to warn her. Do we? She cheated on you, tried to kick you out, attempted to commit fraud. Steve, she's still my wife. Technically. And even if she wasn't, I wouldn't wish what this guy does on anyone. That evening, I drove back to the house one more time. Richard's Mercedes was there. I debated what to do, then decided Lisa needed to know the truth, even if she hated me for telling her. I rang the doorbell. Richard answered, his smooth confidence faltering when he saw me. "Marcus. What do you want?" "I need to talk to Lisa. Now. She doesn't want to see you." "I need to talk to her about you, Richard. Or should I say Richard Thompson? Or is it Richard Hayes? Or maybe Richard Martinez? Which alias are you using with Lisa?" His face went white. Lisa appeared behind him. "Marcus, what are you talking about?" I pushed past Richard into the house, my house. "Lisa, I need to show you something. Richard's not who he says he is." "Of course he's going to say that." Richard interrupted. "He's jealous, he's angry, he'll say anything to get you back." "I don't want her back," I said quietly. "But I don't want to see her scammed either." I pulled out my phone and showed Lisa the research Steve had compiled. 3 other women in 3 other states. Same pattern every time. Seduce a married woman with assets. Convince her to take out loans. Disappear with the money. Lisa read through it, her face going from angry to confused to horrified. "Richard? Is this true?" "Baby, no, this is all lies. He's making this up. There are police reports, Lisa. Court documents. Complaints from multiple women." She looked at Richard. "Tell me this isn't true." He tried his smooth smile. "Lisa, you have to understand, those were different situations. Those women were what? Also married? Also about to take out loans for your business ventures?" His smile faded. "You know what? I don't need this. I don't need to be accused of things by your jealous ex-husband." He grabbed his jacket. "Call me when you've calmed down and we can talk rationally." "Don't call me," Lisa said quietly. "Don't ever call me again." Richard left, slamming the door. Lisa and I stood in the living room, the house we co-owned, in heavy silence. Finally she spoke. "Why did you tell me? I treated you terribly. I cheated on you. I tried to kick you out. Why would you warn me?" "Because despite everything, I loved you once. And I wouldn't wish what Richard does on anyone." She sat down on the couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "I've been so stupid." "Yes, you have. I destroyed our marriage for a con artist." "Yes, you did." She looked up at me, tears in her eyes. "Is there any way we can fix this?" I thought about that question. Thought about the 3 years of support, the betrayal, the lies, the moment I walked in and found her with Richard. And I knew the answer. "No, Lisa. We can't fix this. Too much has been broken. But we can end this civilly. Sell the house, split the proceeds, and both move on." She nodded slowly. "I'm sorry. For all of it." "I know." We listed the house the next week. It sold within a month for $340,000. After paying closing costs and fees, we each walked away with $158,000. Lisa moved back in with her parents, her consulting business quietly shuttered. I heard through mutual friends that she'd never actually had any clients, just spent 3 years networking and pretending while living off my income. As for Richard, the police caught up with him 2 states away trying to run the same scam on another woman. He's currently awaiting trial. I took my share of the house proceeds and bought a small condo near the beach. Started dating again, meeting people who have their own careers and assets and wouldn't dream of using me as a meal ticket. I'm seeing someone now, a lawyer named Jennifer, who insists on splitting every check and would never expect me to pay off her debts. The divorce finalized 3 months ago. Lisa sent one last text, "I hope you find happiness. I'm sorry I wasn't the person you deserved." I didn't respond. Some things don't need a response. Looking back, that night Lisa locked me out thinking she had all the power was the best thing that could have happened. It forced me to dig into the truth, to discover I owned half of everything she thought was solely hers, to realize she'd been planning to scam me with a con artist's help. The look on her face when I showed her the deed with both our names? When she realized she couldn't kick me out, couldn't take loans without my permission, couldn't just move on with Richard while keeping all the assets I'd helped maintain. That look was worth the 3 years of being used. Sometimes being locked out is exactly what you need to realize you've been living in a prison of someone else's making. And sometimes the person who thinks they're throwing you away is actually setting you free. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever supported someone who took you for granted, hit that like button. Share your experience in the comments. Sometimes knowing you're not alone makes all the difference. Subscribe for more stories about people who discovered their worth after being discarded. And remember, supporting someone shouldn't mean being used. Know the difference. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.